Of all the enigmas surrounding extinct human species, none captivates the scientific imagination quite like the story of Homo neanderthalensis. Among the fossil record's rarest and most significant relics, the Gibraltar cranium stands apart not just for its antiquity, but for its forgotten legacy. Discovered in 1848, nearly a decade before the famed Neander Valley skull in Germany, this remarkable specimen remained overlooked for years, its true importance lost to time. Yet today, it offers one of the earliest glimpses into the Neanderthal lineage, revealing a being both primitive and profoundly human. It is more than a skull. It is a voice from an age of ice and fire, endurance and extinction. Welcome to Prehistoric Shadows, where we journey through deep time to uncover the forgotten footsteps of those who walked this earth long before us. On the 25th of July, 1918, Dr. Arthur Keith of the Royal College of Surgeons remarked, "Of the various problems relating to extinct forms of man, none is of greater interest than that which concerns Homo neanderthalensis." Yet decades before the famous 1856 Neander Valley find, a far quieter discovery had already taken place, overlooked, forgotten, and nearly erased from the fossil record. In 1848, beneath the sheer cliffs of the Rock of Gibraltar, quarrymen stumbled upon a skull embedded in ancient sediment. It was handed to the Gibraltar Scientific Society by Lieutenant Flint and later shelved without fanfare, without study. It would take more than 60 years before anyone realized what had truly been found. In 1910, Colonel William Werner, then stationed in Gibraltar, rediscovered old records referencing the fossil. That led to a re-examination and a revelation. The skull, now known as the Gibraltar cranium, predated the German find by 9 years and likely represented a more primitive form of Neanderthal. Though it came without headlines, this cranium was the first true Neanderthal discovery in ancient echo, nearly lost to time, and the opening chapter of one of humanity's deepest evolutionary stories. The Gibraltar skull is more than a fossil, it is a bridge across time. When Dr. Hugh Falconer proposed the name Homo Calpicus, after Gibraltar's ancient name Calp, he hinted at something profound. This specimen might mark a transitional stage between archaic hominins and true Neanderthals. Unlike better-known Neanderthal skulls from Belgium or France, the Gibraltar cranium showed exceptional primitiveness. Its cranial capacity, under 1,100 cubic centimeters, was smaller than that of most Neanderthals and modern humans. But its features told a deeper story. Heavy brow ridges, wide nasal aperture, expanded sinuses, and a flat cranial base. As Dr. Arthur Keith noted, it combined raw physical endurance with the faint glimmers of modernity. Now housed at the Royal College of Surgeons of England, the skull defies modern dating. Sandstone clogs its nasal cavity, and degraded collagen rules out radiocarbon testing. Instead, comparative analysis places it between 100,000 and 120,000 years ago, during the Eemian Interglaciala, rare warm chapter in the Ice Age. In that fleeting climate of relative abundance, Homo Calpicus may have walked the Iberian Peninsula neither fully ancient nor entirely modern. A quiet sentinel between epochs, its silence speaks volumes. Buried not by ritual, but by time and geology, the so-called Gibraltar woman offers a haunting glimpse into Neanderthal life. Likely a mature adult, her robust, skull-thick brow ridges, broad cheekbones, and durable cranial form speaks of a harsh world shaped by cold winds and endless struggle. Discovered at what was once the floor of an ancient cave, her cranium suggests a time when shelter meant survival. Though no deliberate burial was found, her preservation implies she died where she lived within the rocky margins of Ice Age Europe. Biologically, she embodies the gendered adaptations of her species. Unlike the bulkier males, the Gibraltar woman had a more gracile, build-thinner bones, a softer jawline, and likely smaller stature. These were not signs of weakness, but of optimized strength. She was built not for confrontation, but for endurance resilient enough to carry the burdens of foraging, caregiving, and tending the hearth. Her features hint at a division of labor shaped by necessity, not culture. While males hunted massive megafauna, females were the lifeblood of survival, keeping fires burning, children fed, and communities whole. Though she left no tools or ornaments, her skull remains a message across millennia. In its lines and hollows, we read a story of silent strength and quiet defiance. The Gibraltar woman was not just a fossil, she was living proof that in the harshest of climates, survival often depended on those who endured, not those who conquered. Tucked above a winding stream in northern Croatia, the Krapina cave has reshaped how we view Neanderthal life. From 1899 to 1905, paleontologist Dragutin Gorjanović Kramberger unearthed over 230 teeth and 200 skeletal fragments, men, women, and children, from layers 26 feet deep. It was one of the richest caches of early human remains ever found. But what shocked researchers were signs of trauma. Bones split for marrow, skulls burned, femurs marked with cut lines. Was this evidence of cannibalism ritual, or survival, or something else? Gorjanović, far ahead of his time, used stratigraphy, X-rays, and chemical tests to date the site to the last interglacial period, contemporary with the Gibraltar cranium. His work proved this was no chaotic bone pile. Hearths, tools, and layered occupation revealed a community living here for generations. There were no graves, but the variety in ages suggests a stable group. Some propose the defleshing of bodies was pragmatic, driven by hunger in brutal winters. Others believe it had spiritual meaning, perhaps mourning or early ritual. The truth may never be clear. But the Krapina Neanderthals were not mindless brutes. They used fire, cared for their injured, and perhaps faced death with the same complexity we do. In their fractured bones, we see echoes of grief, necessity, and survival threads of humanity woven deep into prehistory. In 1899, 8 eagle talons were unearthed during excavations at Krapina. For over a century, they sat unnoticed in a museum drawer until modern analysis revealed something extraordinary. Dated to 130,000 years ago, these talons bore precise cut marks, polish from use, and deliberate notches. Traces of red and yellow ochre and microscopic fibers suggested they were strung, likely worn as jewelry. These were not leftovers from meals. They were ornaments, carefully crafted by Neanderthals long before Homo sapiens ever arrived in Europe. For years, scholars doubted Neanderthals possessed symbolic thought, the ability to decorate, to assign meaning, to create beauty was thought uniquely human. But these talons challenge that view. Their age predates any known Homo sapiens presence by nearly 80,000 years. No contact, no imitation, just Neanderthals thinking, creating, expressing. And the choice of talons was deliberate. White-tailed eagles were rare, apex predators. To wear their claws may have signaled power, status, or spiritual belief. Or perhaps they simply admired the bird's strength and grace. Whatever the intent, these artifacts whisper across time. In them, we find a quiet but profound truth. Neanderthals didn't just survive. They felt, imagined, and adorned their world with meaning. Neanderthals weren't just survivors. They were forged by the Ice Age itself. Their barrel chests, short limbs, and muscular frames were no accident. These were evolutionary adaptations for conserving heat and enduring physical hardship. In freezing climates, compact bodies meant survival. On harsh terrain, strength was currency. But their form tells more than a tale of brute resilience. Skulls from Gibraltar and Krapina reveal brains between 1,300 and 1,500 cubic centimeters, often larger than ours. Their brains were likely wired differently, with enhanced visual processing, spatial awareness, and motor coordination. This made them skilled hunters, tool makers, and navigators of ever-changing landscapes. Facial features flattened skulls, wide noses. Deep eye sockets were cold weather solutions, not deformities. Subtle regional differences hint at a diverse species adapted to varied environments. Sexual dimorphism adds further depth. Males were stockier, built for confrontation. Females, though smaller, were essential designed for mobility, endurance, and life-giving strength. They likely foraged, processed food, raised children, and contributed to every aspect of group survival. Their bodies were blueprints for survival, not beauty. Their bones etched by time tell a story of intelligent adaptation, of balance between strength and community. And in their fossilized faces, we glimpse not just the past, but ourselves. Were Neanderthals truly cannibals, or have we misread brutal traces etched in ancient bone? Sites like Krapina, Goyet, and Mula Gursi reveal human remains marked with cut lines, cracked long bones, and signs of burn eerily similar to those found on butchered animals. Some interpret this as survival cannibalism's desperation in times of starvation. Others propose ritual or symbolic motives, perhaps consuming the dead preserved memory, status, or spirit. At Krapina alone, over 800 Neanderthal bone fragments show trauma, yet no graves. The mix of hearths, tools, and a wide demographic suggests a stable, cooperative group knot, one lost to chaos. This tension between care and violence stiffens the debate. Neanderthals healed their wounded, nurtured their young, and shared fire. But they may also have made hard choices when survival demanded it. Cut marks don't always mean cannibalism. Natural decay and animal activity can mimic human modification. What's clear is that Neanderthals were complex. If they resorted to cannibalism, it was a response to crisis, not a way of life. To reduce them to savagery misses the point. In their broken bones, we see more than ancient trauma, see echoes of our own dual nature. Compassion and cruelty, struggle and endurance, grace and darkness. The Gibraltar cranium is more than ancient bonettes, a silent witness to a vanished world and a mirror reflecting our shared roots. Neanderthals weren't evolutionary failures. They were a sister species, shaped by ice, hunger, and survival. Though gone for 40,000 years, they remain within us. Nearly 2% of the DNA in most non-African humans is Neanderthal. Their legacy lives in our immune systems, skin tones, and even our emotions. We don't just remember them, we embody them. They were creators as well as survivors. They used birch bark tar as glue, shaped stone into precise Levallois tools, built windproof shelters, and made jewelry from eagle talons. Before Homo sapiens painted cave walls, Neanderthals had already carved their quiet culture into the fabric of prehistory. Their DNA isn't a relicits, a living thread. Their tools, their care for the wounded, their symbolic gestures, all suggest minds capable of meaning. In the glint of a necklace, the warmth of fire, or the resilience in our genes, we see them still. The Gibraltar skull is not just a fossil, it's a bridge bone to blood, then to now. The Neanderthal story isn't over. It continues in us. The Woman of Gibraltar, the silent thinkers of Krapina, the artisans who strung eagle talons into symbols of meaning. They once gazed into the same night sky we now peer into, their breath curling into the frozen air, their minds reaching for something beyond survival. Their fires may be ashes, but their warmth lingers in our blood, in our memory, in the quiet ache to understand who we truly are. They were not primitive echoes of our greatness. They were companions on the human journey, walking beside us through ice and shadow. Though history forgot their names, we carry their story forward. We were never alone. If this story stirred something ancient in you, subscribe to Prehistoric Shadows and continue the journey into humanity's deep, echoing past.